Good morning, true crime friends. How y'all doing? Listen, you are not going to believe this madness. We're about to talk about LaToshia Daniels, trial day 3. It's a whole mess. Look, if you were just getting here today, where you been? We covered a case overview days 1 and day 2 of her court case. If you missed it, don't you worry about it. I have a whole LaToshia Daniels playlist. Just click the description box under this video and you can find links to everything you need to know to get caught up on this case. Today, we're going to talk about day 3, but first, you know what you need to do. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it out, and hype this video, assuming you can find the hype button. If you can't find the hype button, child, don't worry your pretty little head. We have bigger fish to fry than that. But me and you, we're going to get to 30,000 subscribers together. Okay, so look. The state is still in their case in chief, right? So they show up and they told us yesterday, Your Honor, we have one more witness and then we're going to be done. Like done, complete. We're going to make quick work of this madness. And so the judge was like, okay, thank you so much. I mean, not exactly. I'm just giving you the spirit of what happened in court, right? So the state calls this TBI agent. That's the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. Okay, and the man got up there and he's like, hi, I'm a TBI agent. I do, TBI things. I don't know what they do. But he was just like, I'm here to talk about the bullets in the gun. Okay, great. Tell us every single thing. He was like, this is a bullet. He had like a little replica. This is a bullet and this is how bullets work. And I was like, right. And then you put them in the gun and then you pew somebody and then they go into the body. That's how that works. And he was like, exactly. And then so the state was like, right. So the bullets that were inside of Brodus and all over the apartment and in his wife's shoulder, those bullets came from Tasha's gun, right? And he was like, and essentially. And then the state sat down. Sir, how far did you have to travel for this case? Please tell me you just walked across the street. Because honestly, half these witnesses could have been an email. Yeah, we stipulate that, there were bullets. That we figured that out from finding him shot up. But anyway, so the defense gets up to cross-examine the TBI witness. And I was like, what are y'all going to ask him? Like, I don't. And so the defense was like, right, bullets come from guns. And the guy was like, And then I was like, is this real? I feel like I'm being punked. This can't be real. And so then the defense attorney was like, right. Okay. Also, when the bullets come out of the gun, you can't say why she inserted the bullets into him, can you? And the TBI agent was like, no, I just, you put and then, no, I can't say why. And the defense was like, okay, thank you so much. Is this a skit? Honest to God, I was like, I think this is a play. Okay, let me just get some popcorn and I wish I had gotten a program so I could know all the players or whatever, because this case does not seem real. How is this a case? And so then the state stands up and it's like, the state rests. Okay. Y'all had me at the opening statements. I'm gonna tell you the truth. When you describe the situation of what happened, I asked myself, why is this going to trial? But okay, state of Tennessee, okay, Tosh, you the one who wanted to take this to trial. Good for you. Then outside the presence of the jury, the defense team stands up with their whole chest and asks for a judgment of acquittal. Do y'all know what JOAs are? A judgment of acquittal is when you stand up and say, hey, Your Honor, hey, listen, the state came with all this evidence, but we don't think there's enough evidence to sustain these charges. So can you just pat her on the head and send her home? Right. Only we've seen all the evidence in this case and you got to be out your rabbit ass mind. You think this judge gonna send her home, but okay, go ahead and make your case. So the defense team was like, look, yes, she pewed him up, but she didn't plan to. She accidentally bought the gun on the day of the crime, drove to his house, showed up uninvited, and applied that lead to him. It was an oopsie unaliving, so she should be charged with manslaughter and not with first-degree unfortunate unaliving. And when she shot up the wife, well, she didn't even know she was shooting her. She was clearly out of her mind. We're not saying she was insane. We're saying that she was experiencing emotional distress. And so that was reckless endangerment at the most. I mean, yes, she shot the wife, but She shot her in the shoulder. It was not a life-threatening injury. Listen, I, for one, admire the chutzpah of this defense attorney. Who in their right mind would get up and argue as passionately as she did this total nonsense? And then she threw, as a cherry on top of this boo-boo Sunday, she said, we don't know what he said to her. Out of the hearing of the wife, he said something to her, and clearly it like clicked off the crazy switches in her brain, and that's when the pew-pewation started. Your Honor, don't you see? Y'all, if this wasn't real life, this would be amazing. I was like, is this the episode of Matlock? When is Matlock gonna come and stand up and say something? Jessica Fletcher, is that you I see in the gallery? What is happening? And so, but this lady was dead ass serious. I was like, And so she sat down, and the state stood up and was just like, Your Honor, girl. And then, she came with the spirit of girl. Can you believe the madness they over there saying, oh my God, this is hilarious. Oh, the way we gonna talk about this down to the bar. But then what they said in court really was like, Tosh showed up uninvited. She shot 7 times, hit the man 5 times. Intent follows the bullet. I don't care if she didn't intend to shoot the wife. She shot the wife. And then the state sat down, and the defense team stood back up. Defense, why are you on your feet again? I'm asking for myself. Why are you standing up? And said, it was unintentional. Isn't that the Sarah Boone defense? She was like, Your Honor, I would like to hearken back to the great philosopher Sarah Boone and say, it was unintentional, ma'am. And the judge was just like, I understand what you're saying. Oh, the way she kept her composure. She was so like calm and learned and stuff. And she was just like, I understand what you're saying. I have the case law here. And on the record, I would officially like to say, Heifer, what? What? And then she followed that up with girl, and then threw in some legally law stuff. I didn't even write it down because all I wrote in my notes was girl, ! Because there was a whole bunch of mess. And I was like, okay. And so the judge is like, okay, what else y'all got? The defense was like, we have witnesses. For real. Y'all found people to come to court and testify on behalf of the crazy lady with the wild cankalon on her head. Okay. Also, that marsupial was brushed today, so it was a little bit less wild. Can we just now agree that we're going to stop hunting wild cankalons? Because let the cankalons run free and stop killing them and putting them on people's heads, because that whole situation on her head was a whole mess. So this police officer took the stand. This police officer was like, I am here. I will be even-handed. It's interesting to me, I noticed police officers in this, I don't know if it's this county or with this state, when they show up to court, they don't show up in uniform. They show up in a suit. I like that. Anyway, he was just like, yes, I was a police officer on the scene. I saw the defendant standing over 2 bloody, shot up bodies on the floor. Is this helping? Hi, defense, hi. Listen, it's me, Kathy, the gossip from the internet. Is this helping? I feel like this is not helping. And so he was like, we kept shouting at her things like, put down the gun, don't shoot anybody else. And no matter what we yelled, she just kept standing there. So I was asking the other people, what's the crazy heifer's name? And they said, oh, her name is Tosh. And they were like, Tosh, put down the gun. Okay, she of the ticklish brain, you need to go get your Act Right fully installed. We have an Act Right installation team standing by with guns pointed at you. You might want to govern yourself accordingly. But she did not respond. But she did keep crossing herself. Now wait. That's not exactly what he said. What he said is she put the pew-pew to her head, her chest, and her mouth. I think she was crossing herself with the gun. But they said that she was simulating unaliving herself. But she never aimed the pew-pew at the police. Okay, good for her. They shot her anyway with, she lucky they didn't use just like a regular shotgun to take the heifer out. They used a less lethal, which is like a rubber bullet, a beanbag. I don't know what they shot her with. It hurt a real lot because she fell all out and stuff. And then they took her to the police station. They did not get into this in the either direct or cross-examination, but we know from opening statements they took her down to the hospital and she was okay, and they were like, okay, we're gonna release you, meaning we're gonna release you to the police because you did shoot up them people. And she was like, wait, okay, yeah, I would like to go home now. And they were like, oh, no, ma'am, you have the right to remain silent. And she was like, what? She stopped, dropped, and rolled off that gurney and was running through the hospital like her behind was on fire, and they had to tackle her in the ICU unit and then handcuff her and take her off to the police. But she's innocent? Okay, how long did her mental break last? Was she having just the mental break when she pew-pewed up the man? When she popped a cap in the shoulder of the man's wife? Was she still out of her mind when she was running down the hallway? I'm asking for myself, child. I have questions, many questions. Please hold on. I already talked my throat dry. Hang on. The next witness on the stand was a psychiatrist, who is also a psychologist, who is also something else, psyche, I don't know. And so she's like, hi, I am the psychiatrist. You notice I don't use people's names because I'm terrible with names. If I just tell you their title, that's all you need to know, right? So the psychiatrist gets up there and she's just like, yes, just let me say from the beginning, this is not an NGRI case. This is not guilty by reason of insanity. But what I want to tell you, though, is that she had childhood trauma and there's a history of mental illness in her family. Gee, who would have guessed? Her first divorce broke her. She grew up in like her father, or her stepfather, I guess, was a minister. Now, the stepfather was a minister who was also beating mama's behind at work, and the mama was beating the kids. So everybody just got beat. It was full-scale beating up in that house. But they were a good family, and everybody had to appear a certain way. And Tosh, that put a lot of pressure on her. Now, she did get pregnant at 17, and then she got married. Well, wait, how perfect was the family looking if you got pregnant outside of the bonds of marriage and got married at 17? That don't seem that perfect to me, but don't go by me. And then that marriage, as a shock to absolutely no one, did not work out. And so she got divorced. She did have 2 kids, I believe 2 sons, but unclear. Those sons would be grown men now. They would be in their mid to late 20s, something like that. So this heifer's out here acting like this. She got 2 grown kids. Yo, a mess. Anyway, her first divorce filled her with shame. What year is this? I understand that for some families or some cultures, some religions, under some circumstances, divorce is like a big deal. But I'm like, yo, daddy was beating your mama and the divorce was what was causing shame? Okay. The psychiatrist goes on to explain that she did all these tests on Tosh. Let us just keep in mind, Tosh has a PhD in social work, which means, according to me, a professional gossip on the internet, she would know these tests. At some point, she had to have exposure to these tests in her work. All of the tests are based on self-reported information. Might Tosh have known how to answer these questions? Might she have known how to avoid seeming like she was malingering, aka faking? In my opinion, yes. So it's unshocking to me that the psychiatrist said she did all the psychological tests on Tosh, all the information was self-reported, and she didn't find evidence of malingering. Okay. I'm sure that's all true, but I'm sure also that Tosh, the PhD in psychology, knew how to duck and dodge and manipulate these tests to give her the best possible outcome. Ultimately, the psychiatrist diagnosed her with major depressive disorder. Okay, she was depressed. That's a clinical thing. You get yourself some nice pills and see yourself a nice therapist. You be better in no time. She had borderline features and a personality disorder. Translated into like regular you and me, we just sitting at the coffee table talk and speak. She was a stage 1 clinger. She was sad and she kept clinging on to terrible men and she couldn't let go of them. Okay, great. So then the state gets up to cross-examine and they're like, right, so you met Tosh after the shootation, right? And the psychiatrist was like, yes. And you only met her one time, right? All of this was self-reported and you met her one time, which means she only had to fake these answers one time. Okay, cool. And also let's confirm she was depressed but still functional. She was functional enough to know to leave her purse at home, to go buy a gun, to only take her credit card and debit card, to march through that gun store like she was walking the runway. She had on pressed pants. I will never get over it. I am not suffering from major depression. I am not on a mission to kill nobody. You think I've taken out iron in the last 20 years? If you thought so, you'd be wrong. Anyway, and she knew that she wanted to go and pew up this man. She was not insane, right? And the psychiatrist was like, right, she was not insane. So she was sad and clingy, but not crazy. So why are we here? And the state was clear in pointing out, she just wanted him to tell his wife, right? But wait, I thought y'all was going to be sister wives. Oh, right. That piece doesn't fit into this story. Okay, cool. Additionally, Tosh was very upset about the amount of money that she had spent on this man. She was in financial distress because she had spent all her money on that fool who wouldn't even make her wife number one or side piece number one. He just was out here dropping it low and spreading it wide. And then she was just like, here, have some more money. I'm just going to sit here with my hands folded while my financial house of cards falls apart. But I keep propping you up, girl. And I was just like, okay. She was under financial distress. She was real super-duper sad. She was mad because he broke up with her. Okay, cool. And then it happened. She rose up out of her seat and Tosh took the stand. Y'all, let me just first say, the wig did look better from the front. We've been seeing side and back angles, and child, that wig was a crime. That wig is a shame before the Lord. It almost had me start a nonprofit to stop the hunting of these wild cankalons out here. Let them be free. But from the front, I was like, oh, it's not as bad. It's not good, but it's not as bad. Okay, end cankalon hunting now. Anyway, so Tosh gets on the stand and she tells her long, sad tale that we heard in opening statements. And was she self-serving and was she pitiful? Yes. I'm gonna give you the Cliff Notes version of the story. She was sad. She was desperate and thirsty and dry in her second marriage. You see, she married the dude that when she was a teenager, she got pregnant. They had a couple kids and then they got divorced. She was all broken and filled with shame. She met a second dude and he was not much better. And she wanted to go to therapy and he was like, girl, no. And then after 8 years, they started to get a divorce and she was like, oh, I couldn't possibly talk to a therapist, even though I am a therapist, because I didn't want other people talking about me. I was busy being Superwoman and looking like, I'm a strong Black woman and nothing can get me down and blah, blah, blah. So I refused to see a therapist. So she was attending a mega church. The mega church part is important because at a little tiny church, you might not have a whole bunch of services available to you. But at a big mega church, in lots of cases, I don't know what was happening at her particular church, but in lots of churches, they have like a set of counselors, right? A counseling center where you can go get Christian-based therapy that gives you all the regular mental health stuff, but also from a Christian perspective. Not just some random dude who's out here slinging his dang-a-lang around who feels like his staff of love can heal you, right? So she was like, let me just bypass all the normal channels and go get some staff of love from this fool. A doughy, dumpy, middle-aged man with braces who is a nerd. Girl, what was the appeal? Anyway, so she's like, I was dry and thirsty and parched, and he watered me. We're not going to say with what, because this is a family show. Okay, it's really not. Your kids really should not be watching this channel. Anyway, so they had a first counseling session and it didn't go that good. He was kind of ignoring her like every other man in her life. And she was like, oh, yeah, let's have a second one because that first one was bad. Let's try again, girl. Discernment. They ain't teach you discernment down at the church or in your common sense or in your PhD classes. Okay. asking for myself. So during the second session, she was like, well, you were sitting there with your hands in your pockets the last time me and you talked. So I don't know even why I'm here. And he's like, oh, I was trying to be a gentleman because as you were pouring out your heart and telling me every terrible thing that was wrong with you, I just wanted to jump your bones. And then he grabbed her and kissed her and they oochie coochied right there on the floor. Was y'all at the church? You're just defiling the church, fornicating, adultery. They were both married to other people. I think that makes it adultery, fornication. I'm not up on my biblical laws like that. Anyway, they wasn't supposed to be doing the nasty down to the church building, especially since they were both married to other people. And immediately, he pulled out and was like, download this app. Look, if you slip up and accidentally oochie the coochie of your preacher / counselor, what I'm not going to be doing is taking a whole bunch of orders. Now that's just me. I know it is shocking to you to discover, but I have a little bit of a strong personality. A man come up to me talking about download this app called Confide so we can send each other secret disappearing messages. I'm going to send you a message and you touch the screen to look at it. And as soon as you take your finger off the screen, the message disappears. Sir, no. Don't go by me. I suspect this man was terrible in bed. Her standards were so low. She was like, it was loving. It was wonderful. It was great. Girl, you ain't had no good. We're not going to go there. See, also, your kids should not be watching this show. Please hold. Hang on. So she tells her whole sad tale. I downloaded Confide and he gave me a reading list. I had to read books and stuff. Oh, she was crying on and off and she was real super duper sad. And she walked us very slowly through what happened the days leading up to the event and the day of the event. According to Tosh, who, look, let's just assume she's telling the truth. Let's assume every single word out of her mouth was true. She's real super duper sad because ultimately he broke up with her via disappearing text. Disrespect. I suspect she wanted to pop a cap in his ass on the strength of, I know after all of this, you didn't break up with me over a disappearing text. The financial piece was not really covered extensively in the opening statements, but when Tosh was on the stand, she covered how the finances of this relationship worked. Now, she had to have her reading list. She downloaded the Confide app. And then she had to pay for everything. Everything. We're going to go on a church trip. You pay. So she would pay for her trip. And then he was like, and I'll take care of everything else. Meaning that free hotel room he got from the church, she had to pay for. Every single thing she paid for. They wanted to go mountain bike riding. She had to pay for his mountain bike. He wanted to join a cigar club. She paid for the cigar club. What? Girl, this couldn't have been me on the strength of I'm real cheap. This kitty cat is solid gold. You might be paying me. Not that I think that it should be the finances shouldn't have weighed into this at all. But for this one, oh no. No, sir. You buying me nice dinners. You buying me a house. Your 401k, half that's mine. But oh no, he was married and also had other side people. I say side people because I'm not entirely convinced all his side people were all of the female variety. This boy was out here dropping it low and spreading it wide. If there was a farm nearby, I would say check them sheep. I don't know what he was getting up to, but he was getting up to things. I will bet you $100 he had sniffies on his secret app. He had Scruff. He had Grindr. He had all the things. All the things. He knew all the local glory holes were reportedly, allegedly. Look, don't go by me. I'm just a gossip from the internet. I'm just telling you what I feel in my spirit. I have no facts, none whatsoever. I just feel it because I've seen him. Anyway, so every time they did anything, she had to pay. He wanted to start a new hobby. She had to pay. Meanwhile, she's a single parent. She's in financial ruin and he's over there with his wife and got church money and he's living it up. And at one point, the church was like, there's some improprieties on this credit card. You're going to have to pay this back. Well, he didn't have the money, so she paid the money back to cover up his financial improprieties. And then finally, she was like, you need to tell your wife about us. In opening statements, she was talking about y'all was going to be sister wives and the wife knew. Now you're like, you gotta tell a wife. You gotta tell a wife. Girl, have some self-respect. I would rather have her like drink some liquor and let her hair go and quit pressing her pants instead of her chasing around this fool. Anyway, so ultimately, she says she went to him one day and was like, I'm a pew up myself because I'm so depressed. I can't take this relationship. I'm in financial ruin. You terrible. And your thing is not that good anyway. I mean, that's not what she said, but you know it's true. Anyway, and so he was like, oh no. So he took the gun from her and took it someplace and locked it up. So the day of the crime, she had to go buy a new gun with her last remaining nickels and dimes. So she buys a new gun. Then she goes to the ATM and she takes money out of the ATM and she leaves it at the house for her son, so her son can have money. And then she wrote you know how people leave like an unalive note? She wrote an unalive book. It was so long. They had her read her note on the stand. It was like the Academy Award speech. I would like to thank my mother and God, and I just want you to know I am so grateful. I was like, where's the music? Somebody need to play her off. But she wrote this note and she left the note in her phone. Okay, so a note in your phone, isn't that a text message? So she wrote a goodbye text message where her sister would find it in her phone. Okay, cool. And so she was going to drive to her favorite park, and the park had all this symbolism because the street in the park where she was going to unalive herself was named after her daddy, the one who used to be her mama. And she was going to go to this particular park because it had special meaning for him and all of these other things. Girl, tell somebody who cares. That miss me with this foolishness. So according to her, she was driving to the special park with the special gun on the special street. And she's like, wait, is that a sign for Memphis? That's where my lover who broke up with me this morning lived. You know, do a U-turn and gone off to Memphis. And if I could just talk to him one last time, I want to know, what was the soundtrack for this road trip? I'm just curious. Was she playing like old love songs, all them sad songs to make you cry? She put on some Michelle and Digio cello. The way I love Michelle and Digio cello. But anyway, she was putting on some sad music and stuff. And then so she drives up to the cigar bar where she knows he hangs out. Did she pay for the membership there too? I'm just curious. So she sees him, and according to the rules of their relationship, she's not supposed to speak to him first. He has to speak to her. This is a BDSM relationship. Okay, cool. Do you, but you're not supposed to be doing all of this with a married man, Miss Church Girl. Anyway, so she just walks past him and he's like, oh, you're not going to speak to me? And she's like, oh, well, I was really hoping that we could talk, blah, 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 blah. So they go and they have a conversation, and he's clearly sick of her. According to her, he unbreaks up with her. Okay. And then she's like, if you could just tell your wife, then we're going to be sister wives and then we'll live happily ever after. We met his wife. She don't seem like the sister wife type to me. Call me crazy, but the wife seemed like a heifer ain't have no time for none of this foolishness. So he was like, okay, I got to go to the preacher's house and drop something off. Why don't you go over and start talking to my wife? And when I get there, I'm going to tell her that y'all going to be sister wives. And at that fine moment, I guarantee you the wife would have popped a cap dead in his behind. Tosh wouldn't have had to. So Tosh goes over and she's sitting down there at the house. And then this Brodus Perry shows up and he's just like annoyed that she's there. Okay, girl, signs this is not going good. And she was like, right. He was annoyed that I was there. So I was like, oh, he's probably not going to tell his wife that me and her are going to be sister wives soon. AKA, we going to have a threesome. In the name of the Lord? Was this part of the polyamory ministry? The adultery fornication ministry? What ministry was this a part of? Crazy lady who grew up in church, who knew this was wrong from day one. And so she was just like, then he offered me a little bit of liquor. He had asked if I wanted a pour. How come she ain't poured his liquor on his head? Anyway, so the pastor who left the cigar bar is now drinking brown liquor. This is a new church, y'all. This is a new day in religion because I ain't grow up at this kind of church. And so they're sitting here drinking, and the wife was like, okay, it's getting late. You should get the hell out of my house. You showed up unannounced after 9 o'clock. And so she's like, I thought he was going to bring it up with his wife, but it became clear that he wasn't going to. And then the wife was like, okay, everybody out. Get the hell out of my house. I'm not wearing a bra. It's late. I'm tired. I got to brush my teeth. I need to wrap up my hair. I got things to do. Heifer, why you still here? I got to put on my nighttime hand lotion. It's things I need to do. And so according to Tosh, the wife walks out first. Tosh and Brodus are still standing in the living room. Tosh goes to leave, and she looks at him one last time and thinks, is this it? This is how it ends. And so she reaches for her keys, and instead of her keys, she finds a gun, and she just snapped. She broke in that moment and pew-pewed him all up. And then when the wife went to cover the husband, she was like, get out the way, heifer, get out the way. And the wife wouldn't move. She's like, pew, fires a warning shot right into her shoulder. And then she started doing the sign of the cross with the gun till the police came. Now, look, I have sped up the whole situation, but that's basically what happened. The neighbors call the police come, they shoot her with a less lethal, blah, blah. You've heard the rest of this. She stopped, dropped, and rolled and ran through the hospital. Now, look, she alternately was reminiscing and like, oh, and smiling and giggling. She just was back in the moment of what it was like to be with this pitiful ass man. And she loved him, and she never would have wanted this to happen. This is not how she wanted this to end. Girl, how did you think it was going to end, right? I am going to take Tosh at her word, and I believe that she believes every single thing she said. Is she lying? Is she telling the truth? I do not know. I think she believes the story that she told yesterday. Here's the problem. I don't believe her. Even if everything she said was absolutely true from her standpoint, the wife got a different point of view. That sad, sorry sucker on the floor who's now dead, he would have had a different point of view. Ultimately, whether everybody was right or everybody was wrong, the one fact that stood still through all of this, she shot up that man. She showed up at his house uninvited and filled him full of lead. So yes, she spent the last hour, 45 minutes, whatever it was, telling us a sad and heartfelt story. And I promise you, there's some women out here who are like, I get it. I feel sorry for her. I am not that woman. Women who feel sorry for her, I see you, I hear you, I understand what you're saying. Don't shoot people. Look, take it for what it's worth. It's unsolicited advice from a big mouth lady on the internet. But I'm telling you right now, you out here shooting people, you're going to go to jail. You're going to go to jail. Even if you had a really, really good reason and he was mean to you. And in her unalive book that she wrote, her book, text message, whatever, she was just like, there's no money to bury me. Girl, what? You're in private practice. You have a PhD. You spending all your money on this fool. There's no money to bury you. Just cremate me. That was very reminiscent of Donna Adelson. Bury me in the dress I bought for Lincoln's bar mitzvah. Girl, somebody feels sorry for you. It's not me. I suspect it's not that jury. And then the state stood up for their cross-examination. Child, the way I almost got the Holy Ghost. I was like, oh, give it to me, state. Give it to me. And the state, much like in their opening statement, had very little to say. The state asked 8 questions, just 8. I counted them. Now, keep in mind, normally in opening statements, the state tells a long story and the defense stands up and was like, that's basically what the defense is. In this case, the state told a real quick, like, she went to his house and she shot the dude. And then the defense stood up and told a long story. That's what happened in the case of Tosh on the stand. She told a long, winding, epic tale where she flipped that wild cankeline off her shoulder and she wept and she cried and she had all of the emotions. Ma'am. And sometimes she even cried wet tears periodically and from side to side. I sensed moisture, but overall, no. The state said, okay, listen. I'm going to make quick work of you, heifer. You went to the gun store, right? And she was like, yes. And then the state was like, you drove to Memphis. Yes. You chose voluntarily to be with Brodus Perry, right? Well, I didn't choose it because... The state was like, it was a yes or no question. She was like, yes, ultimately, I chose to be with him. The state was like, good. You talked to Mrs. Perry that night? Yes. You talked to Mr. Perry that night? Yes. You shot Mr. Perry that night. Oh, I don't know because my brain, the state was like, let me be clear. These are yes, no questions. She was like, I mean, yes, I shot him. But the state was like, I got you. It was a yes. You shot Mrs. Perry, right? And she was like, You shot him because you were mad. And she was like, see. And the state was like, no further questions, and sat down. Now, people might have been happy with the state. They might have been sad with the state. Me, I am of the opinion the state can see that jury. I can't see the jury. The state sees that jury. The state knows I have this jury. The jury is on my side. Likely the jury was with them from opening statements. The jury, much like me, is probably like, why is this a case? Why didn't this have to take a plea and gone off to prison where she's ultimately going to be? Okay. And then that intrepid defense attorney out here doing the Lord's work. I give kudos to this defense attorney because she has a terrible case that she knows she's going to lose, but she's like, this is just an academic exercise for me. I'm going to get up, I'm going to throw everything at the wall, and we just going to see what happens. And so she's like, hey, client, Tasha Daniels, did you want to hurt him? And Tasha's like, no, I've spent my life helping people. And then she was like snotting and making noises in her throat or whatever. And then the defense sat down, and I was like, this got to be it. This got to be the end. And then Tosh gets up and goes, and she weeps at the table. I believe she cried wet tears. I believe she did, because she's like, I'm not going to enjoy prison at all. This is going to be terrible. This wig is itchy. Why am I wearing pink? This is not my color. Pink with black. This is all I could find in that lost and found bucket they got down there. I'm trying to look pious and holy, but everybody knows I was Uchi in that man's coochie, and he was married, and I was friends with his wife. Even if you snapped on the night of the crime, the night in question, you were friends with that man's wife. And then you slept with her, or you slept with him for 2 years. And when he broke up, you popped a cap in his ass and in his kidneys and in his head. Okay. This is a pretty cut and dry case. And then the defense is like, we rest. I needed a nap. I was just like, I'm done. I'm done. Done. So later today, we're going to get closing statements. And then the jury gets to go and deliberate. And by deliberate, I mean gasp, clutch their pearls, and be like, y'all, the way, they need to talk about this. Every day the judge is like, we're not ready to talk about it yet. The way I would need to talk about this case. Y'all, the way they probably need to talk to you, like, wait. Did you see the part where, and then there was the part where, oh my God, and can you believe? And then she was paying all his bills and she couldn't pay his bills. The unalive text message that she left. Y'all, I would be so animated and so dramatic in the back room of this jury deliberations, which is why I am not on this jury. See, also, I have been on 3 juries. I am excellent at jury duty. Oh, I wonder if I could call Bergen County and volunteer. Hi, I'd like to come and be on some of your juries. Thank you so much. Okay, so look. I'm running long, but I had to explain to y'all what happened. So later today, we will have closing statements and just a tiny little public service announcement I'm going to insert right here. Tosh was well respected in her community. She's a high achieving person. She's out here. She's helping others. She had several nonprofit organizations. She was helping the youth, and she was helping all the wives and all the people, but she couldn't help herself. Right? She's so busy being superwoman over there, she couldn't take care of at home. She was pouring from an empty cup. And this is my message to you. Take a little time to fill your own cup. Unplug, not from this channel, but unplug. Go for a drive. Go for a walk. Take a mental health day. Take good care of yourself. And I will see you next crime.